Okay, students. So the time machine is a fiction, scientific fiction, what you call sci-fi, and it was written by H.G. Wells. And I have prepared this presentation for you. So, children, this is the picture of the time machine that, on the basis of the description given by H.G. Wells, this was uh, um, the imagined machine that the people had visualized, okay, and drawn pictures of and used in the movies. There are at least two versions of time machine, the movies that I have seen, okay, and which are direct screen adaptations. Apart from these, children, there are many other inspired, you know movies where there is an episode of a time machine or time travel, okay. So time travel has always fascinated man, especially in the olden days, when when people had just started um, discovering that they could fly using machines like planes. They were very much into this time travel thing, and uh, the old science fictions and all, if you read very old movies, if you watch, there will be this time travel. You remember Doraemon and Nobita? They also do a kind of time travel. The drawer in the desk, which is actually the time machine. Okay, so this time machine is it was very big. It could not fit in a drawer, but before anything else, before the time traveler brought out this actual time machine, he made a small version of it and shared it with his friends. We'll come to that later. So this is the time machine. You can see there are some levers. There is some button. There is some you know the dish kind of thing behind it, okay, and a very comfortable seat, okay. So this is what you have to keep in mind whenever we are talking about, whenever we our time traveler is on his journey, this is what he is sitting on, all right. So where is this novel set, which era, the place, okay. So this is very interesting. You have to remember that, suppose you are in your room right now, in the chair where you are right now, that is your time machine. So the time machine will take you backwards and forwards in time, not in place, okay. So suppose 20 years ago, where you are sitting right now, if you go 20 years behind, and um, um, there was a field, okay, a wheat field over there. The house was not made, the buildings were not made, right? So when you press the button and you go 20 years in the past, then you will find yourself in a field, a wheat field, right? So you have to understand this concept that the time traveler is traveling in space. So the setting is not various places, but the place is the same. The surroundings change because he is now in a different era where there is something else in that place, okay. So this is how this is. um, in future, suppose your the house is raised down and some other building is constructed there. So in future, when you go, you will still be there. The time machine will still be there at that very same spot. The only thing is you can get off from the time machine and travel, and you can move around. You getting me? But the place will remain the same. So this is something that we have to remember throughout, that the place of action is always um, England. It is always around his house. That is what it is. Now only the traveling in space will take place. So the setting of the novel, I'm going to read and explain from here now. The book begins in late 19th century London, specifically in the time traveler's home in Richmond, a borough on the Thames River, on the outskirts of London. Okay. The dining room, smoking room, and laboratory are the only rooms seen and not fully described, as they are only the setting for the narrative frame which surrounds the real story told by the time traveler himself. Now, the time traveler, how does he introduce the time machine? He calls his intellectual friends and they have dinner in the dining room, and then they go to the smoking room where he shows them the miniature version, and then they go to the laboratory where he shows them the actual time machine. These are the only rooms which are seen. There is no detailed description of these rooms because they are just the frame for the action to begin. That is all. The detailed description is given of the places which we'll see later on. Okay, where he goes with his in his time machine. The men gather in the smoking room, seating themselves around the time traveler, who sits near the fireplace and begins to tell his tale in the dim light of the fire's glow. Now, the second setting of the place. Here again, they tell you the same thing. Just please go through this. So you see how this is still the site of the time traveler's house. Wherever he's traveling, he's where his house, at the same place where his house was. Okay, and you read the year. Which year was it in? See our year. It seems so small. It's as if the Earth has just evolved. Year 2020, and this is in the year 8 lakh 2701. So which century this is he has gone into? So in this century, what is the situation of London? The buildings that once formed London are gone. All that can be found are the buildings used by the above ground dwellers. Above ground, see, there were two kinds of dwellers there: the above ground dwellers and the underground dwellers. A very large statue of a sphinx like creature, the ruins of several other structures, and scattered circular wells. Everything has gone back to nature. Trees and flowers fill the Thames Valley. Where you see the bridge, the London Bridge, the London Eye, where you see the Westminster, where you see everything. When you look at the scene, the Westminster, the London Bridge, the River Thames, okay, and the London Eye there, everything is gone. And you cannot imagine Thames Valley to be filled with flowers and trees and all, the entire um, wild nature is there. So this is how the place has become in this year. Okay. And the third setting, temporal setting, means the temporary setting. The fixed setting is the narrator's, is the sorry the time traveler's house. Narrator is someone else. So the third temporal setting is even farther into the distant future. 30 million years hence, 30 million years later. And the landscape is even more dramatically different. Now the Thames Valley is a desolate beach, okay, facing an aging ocean with no waves. Now, millions of years ago, where there was a river that actually becomes the site of an ocean, and a very sad, and when you read that description, the description is so vivid, you feel you can imagine that place right before your eyes. You see the happy pictures of the oceans and seas these days. That ocean was nothing like it. The entire thing was, you can imagine it like a black and white picture, and a still ocean, very still ocean. It had no waves because there was hardly any wind blowing. The moon was so close that it seemed like 10 times bigger than what it is right now. Okay. And the creatures that were there, they were very strange creatures. Large white butterflies, and butterflies like were the size of huge eagles. Okay. And huge crab like creatures. And the description tells us that these crab like creatures were as huge as a big table. And you know what happens? One of In the end, one of these crab like creatures spots the time traveler, and then he presses a few buttons quickly to escape from there. And in the end, we see that the narrator is waiting for the time traveler, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story later. So the crabs are gone, and then he comes again, and one more, some a few years before that also. After that, what happens? The crabs are also gone, and only lichens and a black creature, one, a very strange and unpleasant, scary black creature remain. So these are the settings of the novel. He takes us in the future. There is no incident in the novel where the time traveler is taking us into the past. So whatever picture he sketches for us through this novel is all set in the future, like what will happen in future. And the biggest part is dedicated to this part, okay, where he meets the above ground dwellers and the underground dwellers, and these dilapidated, these ruinous buildings where these people, the above ground people, are living. Okay, I'll let you have a glimpse of all. Yes, children. Okay, now we come to the characters, right? The the main character is the protagonist. The protagonist is the central character. Okay, the protagonist, there can be one protagonist, there can be more than one protagonist in a novel. In this novel, there is the a very few, and the most important character is the time traveler. So he is a very intelligent man of science. He is known to be a very good scientist and known to be a very good inventor. And one more thing is, he is known to be a very good practical joker also. He was so smart that he could play, practical jokes on his friends. So anything that he said was not believed um, by the people very easily. Okay. Now, he is versed in the theories of his day, like whatever theories were prevalent, okay, in the early 19th century. He was well versed with those theories. He is very clearly a Darwinist. Darwinist means um, a person who believes in the theory of Charles Darwin. Now, Charles Darwin's theory said that uh, it supported the survival of the fittest. Okay, survival of the fittest. And Darwin also believed in the theory of evolution. Okay, the theory of evolution says that, the way we keep on, the body keeps functioning. After a long time, the organs develop according to that. Like man, when he developed from apes, he started using his brain, and then so the brain developed so well that man became superior to any other creature. Like, I was telling you earlier also, that a deer, because he has to run away, to save his life, he has to have, that is a necessity, he has to have fast legs, quick legs. So he becomes good in running. Likewise, the tiger becomes good in, killing, because he needs that for his survival, otherwise he would die, right? So this is what H.G. Wells believed in, and therefore the protagonist is modeled on the theories that H.G. Wells also believed in. Okay, and his thoughts all echo much of Wells' own theories about the Britain of his time. His means here the time travelers. Now he is a man of observation and muses. Muses mean things, contemplates things deeply, quite a bit about his surroundings, in an attempt to use logical thinking to draw conclusions about the future and its inhabitants. Now, based on what has happened so far, we can, to some extent, we can predict what will happen in future, isn't it? Like we see the data for corona today, and then we can predict, the experts at least they can predict using the statistics and the various logarithms, they can predict what will happen. Now what happens is, this man can also predict what can happen in future. So, and this knowledge, this theory of H.G. Wells is depicted in this novel. Now, the time traveler, as I told you, has a sense of humor about almost everything he encounters, and he accepts his friend's skepticism also. Skepticism means when you are doubtful. Okay, I tell you that there is God, and there are angels, and there's going to be heaven, and then we all. So then there will be some skeptics who will say, no, no, we don't believe it. This is not something that is going to happen. Whatever happens is going to happen on the earth, and people are going to die, and the new generation will come. That is how it's going to go on. We don't believe there will ever be an end of the world, and there will be heaven and hell and all. Okay, so some people believe this, some people are skeptics, they don't believe it. Okay, so witty and somewhat of a joker, this aspect of his personality is part of the reason his friends so quickly dismiss his theory and demonstration as a joke. That now again, this man is playing a joke on us. This is not true. So they don't want to believe him. So this is the picture of the time traveler. The pictures are from various illustrations, children, that the writers have, the various people have imagined it to be like. And this is from a movie. There was a movie, The Time Machine. It was um, produced in around 1960s, and there was one made recently also. Okay, so this is from the older movie. I found the characters in the older movie much more, you know, similar to what I had visualized them when I had read the book. So this is, you can see, it's the laboratory, so you can see all kinds of chemicals and some bottles kept here. And this is how he got, he seated him in himself in this nice seat, and there is this important lever, and these different kind of buttons that are there. You see all kinds of different things which he must have thought were required. So this is the time traveler for you. Now the next most important character here is the narrator. The narrator is the one who tells you that we all went to the time traveler's place. He did this, and he showed us this time machine, and the narrator also spots him once again when he had come back. That was the second meeting which takes place in his dining room. One of the three men present at both dinners. So there were people invited, and the time traveler had shared his theory of the time machine. Now, these one of the three men, that means there were three men who were present at the first dinner also and at the second dinner also. The second dinner, when he comes from the second dinner, he shares the story about the first setting I told you, where the upper ground and underground, above ground and underground dwellers were there. So he shares this theory with them during the second dinner. So three men were present in both the dinners. The narrator is the only character who gives any credence to the time traveler's claims. He tells the time traveler, okay, I believe it. He seriously considers the possibility of time travel. This is the narrator according to the movie. The narrator Hillier. Now the Eloi. Eloi is not one character, but Eloi are the above ground people. Okay. Now let us know how, in what way the Eloi were like us and different from us also. Okay. A peaceful but weak and lethargic people who populate the surface of the earth in the year 8,02,701. We are still here, 4 digit. Small in stature and delicate frame, featured, the Eloi play all day, feast on fruit in great halls, and sleep in large communal chambers in order to protect themselves from the dark and the possibility of a Morlock attack. I'll tell you what this Morlock attack is. Easily tired and childlike, they are not interested in intellectual pursuits or in the time traveler beyond his function as a diversion. See, children, what happened with these Eloi people was that the time traveler tells us that these Eloi, these were the upper class people of the 19th century. Now, upper class people, they only had, they did not have to work to support themselves. They just lived a leisurely life. They had servants. They had money coming from the government. Okay. And you know how in Jane Eyre, you had read, you know, she used to receive a small amount of, you know, 10,000 per year, 10,000 per pounds per year. So this was the kind of inheritance that was given to um, people belonging to um, higher classes, higher classes of the society, and this was given from the treasury. And how the treasury got the money from, from the taxes that the working class gave them. So these people, after a long time, see, this is what H.G. Wells has imagined. Okay, it was his imagination that when people stop working and they are only living a pleasurable life, okay, after centuries and centuries, what will happen to this kind of people? That, two kinds of species came out from the humans. One species was the one who were leading a very comfortable and luxurious life, and the other species belonged to the people who were working very hard. So the people who were living a very luxurious life, they became very weak. They became short in stature. Okay, they became like, he imagines them the size of a child, 3-4 feet tall. That was the highest, length that they reached. Because when you do not use the body except for having fun, then your body becomes weak, because then none of the organs, your your limbs, they are getting any exercise. When they don't get any exercise, what happens is they diminish in size. This is what H.G. Wells has thought from this theory of Darwin. Okay. Now, these people, they did not use their brains much also. So, after millions of years, as a result of not using the brains, they have become like children. They have no intellectual pursuits. That means they are not having any intellectual conversations like we are having right now. They are only interested in the time traveler. They are not interested in the time machine, where you have come from. No, they do not even ask such questions. They are just interested in him as a diversion. That, as they have other games, this is also like a part of the game. That is all. Okay. Now I'll show you the picture of these Eloi. See, this is the large communal hall that time traveler talks about. They only eat these fruits that are available in plenty there. They wear these similar kind of clothes. Okay. These robes, he calls them. And they are all very nice, pleasant looking people. See, they all have golden hair. They all are very pretty to look at, very nice. And um, they have these light colored, pretty clothes, okay, that they wear. Nothing complex in design or, prints or anything. Very simple robes, simply woven, okay. And see the fruits, whatever they are having. So this was their communal dining hall, and they had a community, the sleeping chambers also, where they used to sleep together, huddled close to each other. Okay, and in the beginning, the time traveler could not understand why these people are so scared. Now come the Morlocks. The Morlocks were the other subspecies of the humans which had evolved as a result of the distinction between in the society. One was working class, the other was the the higher class. So this is the working class. The working class used to use they continued to use their hands, they continued to use their brains, so they turned into these Morlocks. Now these Morlocks were aggressive, predatory, ape-like people who live beneath the earth's surface. Why they were living beneath the earth's surface? Because see, earlier on the Eloi was so dominating that H.G. Wells imagines that they must have driven them to go and live underground. We don't want you here. Okay, go and live underground. We don't want you on the surface of the earth. So from underground, they used to keep on working on their machineries, and they used to supply the needs, fulfill the needs of the Eloi living on the surface of the earth. So these people are the descendants of the working class of the late 19th century, and they continued to labor, maintaining and running huge machines deep in the earth. These machines are depicted in the time machine also, okay? They are working on these machines. They have adapted physically to a life beneath the surface with large eyes, very sensitive to light, and unpigmented skin and fur. Now they do not need the pigment. Why do we need the pigment? Because the sunlight that we receive, it has to be processed, and that is why we need the pigment. These people, they do not have a they do not need the pigment. The skin and fur is unpigmented. There are people who have a certain pigment related um, disorder, and uh, they cannot look at the sun. They have to wear dark glasses all the time, and they have white hair. Even small kids have white hair, and they have uh, pink skin. Okay, it looks like raw skin sometimes when they go out in the sun, but it's actually skin like ours when you touch it, but they do not have pigment. So this is what um, the time traveler has worked upon. These people have this unpigmented skin and fur. The eye is very sensitive to light, very large eyes, very large eyes, so that when they come out in the dark, they can see properly. So large eyes will have large pupils, large irises, so that they can see properly. Okay. These people were carnivores. They were not fruit eating people like the Elois. They were carnivores. And what did they feed on? They fed on the Eloi. And Eloi had now become like their cattle, whom these people were maintaining as a source of food. Okay, these are the Eloi. Large eyes, ape-like humans. The body is also covered by, with a lot of fur now, and the hair also, the body is also all unpigmented and light in color. This is the scene where they are trying to attack the time traveler underground. Okay, but for your information, the time traveler escapes these people. They have tried to attack him twice, but he escapes. Now we come to one of the major characters, Veena. Veena was an Eloi, but she was an Eloi whom the time traveler, he saves her from drowning, and she becomes a special friend of the time traveler. She follows him around. She cannot understand his language, but he tries to interpret her language and gets some kind of information from her. And she eventually is attacked and she dies. The time traveler had become quite fond of her, but he's saddened by her death. This is Veena. Now we come to the minor characters. Now the minor characters are only the people who were there with the um, the time traveler when he showed them the machine. One was a medical man, one was a psychologist, one was the editor. See, all the prominent people of his society, of the town, the time traveler had brought so that he could put the idea forward to them, because he thought that these people were um, brainy people. They could understand the concept. Other minor characters are, there was a journalist, there was the mayor, Philby, there was one very young man, and the narrator doesn't know him, so he doesn't that doesn't describe him much, and he talks about the time traveling and the fourth dimension. And then there was one man with a beard, and see, he is described in this way because this is how the narrator knew them. The narrator doesn't know who this person is, so he is describing him as the one man with a beard was there in the second meeting. Okay, so he is unknown to the narrator, so this is all. And this is a glimpse of these people when the time traveler showed them um, the smaller version, a miniature version of the time machine. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this presentation. Anything that you people have to say about this? Did you like the novel, and are you excited by about reading a novel on time travel? Please raise your hands. I want your feedback before we say goodbye for the day. Yes, Shriman. Shriman, I tried to unmute you, beta. I don't know what's happening. I am unable to unmute you. Yes, Disha Sivani. हाँ बेटा. Yes, Disha. Who else? Disha, I've unmuted you once again, beta.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, beta. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am.
Okay, beta. So tell me,
Ma'am,
you
it was
excited
very
about
nice and
reading the novel?
interesting story.
Huh?
It was very nice and interesting story, ma'am.
Yes. See, this is just an introduction so that people get interested. And when we read the novel, you will have something to, imagine, okay, this is the person and this is how it must have been. And I will keep showing you the pictures, whatever I can find, along with the chapters when we discuss. So this week, I'm planning to do chapter 1. We will not go through the entire chapter. I will tell you a summary, okay, and some pictures related to it. So I'll try to find more pictures related to it, and I'll give you the summary, the main points, okay, and but a very detailed summary, okay. Fine. Okay, Charvi, what do you have to say, beta?
Ma'am, it's an interesting novel.
Yes, it is interesting. In
Ma'am,
the
I
huh,
time travel.
huh,
I like I wish to do a time travel in the future because it will be so amazing. But there is no such instrument. Like there is no such machine.
huh. I'll
I,
tell you one thing, that the time traveler says that there are how many dimensions there are of space. So the time traveler says that we have length, breadth, and height. Okay, there are three
yes,
dimensions that
ma'am.
we already know. So he says there is one more dimension, time. The time is also one dimension, and he says that we do not realize it because we are moving ahead with time. We are traveling in a linear motion with time, right? So that is
Okay.
why he says that we cannot understand it. We cannot feel it. Okay, so you never know what all can be possible in future. Time travel may also be possible. We don't know about it. Okay. So
And ma'am,
yes.
the way he wrote, like the way he wrote the novel, it's beautiful. Like it's beautifully written.
Oh, the descriptions are so beautiful, and the logic that he has presented, how these two,
Yes, ma'am.
how humans bifurcated in these two classes, these two subspecies of humans. That is also very interesting. So I hope we have a nice time, going through this novel, at least the first two chapters where he describes
Yes,
the
ma'am.
machine and all. That would be interesting. So great, children. Nice to, I really look forward to spending time with you children, beta. It's not just reading, but then, I get a break from the everyday things that we are doing at home, and it's a nice break for me also. I really look forward to it. I just wanted to tell you people this. So it's not just I'm doing it out of because I have to do it, but I love doing it and I love interacting with you. So I think the time is up now. Okay, bye bye children.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye beta.
Uh,